War. War never changes.
Ah, you're so right, Ron. But hey, in Fallout, the world does change based on your decisions.
Fallout itself changed with Fallout 3, which shifted the series from an isometric perspective to a primarily first-person view, a proper jump to 3D. Despite the new POV, the series retained its retro-future aesthetics, dark humor, and heavy decision-making. I'd like to talk about one of the earliest, but most important decisions you have to make in Fallout 3, to detonate an atomic bomb, or not, and either destroy or preserve an entire settlement in the process. There's a reason Fallout 3 starts with your character literally being born. This was a rebirth for the franchise. Fallout 3 was the first one developed by Bethesda, and the studio had a difficult task in taking over the series. In addition to shepherding the games into 3D, the team had to pretty much reintroduce the series to people. There was a full decade between Fallout 2 and 3's release dates, meaning a whole new generation of gamers had to be taught about this post-apocalyptic world. I was one of them. And for those who had played the previous entries, there was still a massive shift in terms of moment-to-moment gameplay, not to mention setting. Fallout 3 took the story from Southern California in the West Coast to the other side of the United States. As you might already know, Bethesda, the studio, was founded in Bethesda, Maryland, right outside of Washington, D.C. The studio still operates in the D.C. metro area today, so it makes perfect sense that the team would set the post-apocalyptic RPG in their own backyard. Write what you know, as they say. It was actually my backyard too. I grew up in Maryland. I couldn't tell you the number of times I visited DC for school trips, and laughed about a subway station being called Foggy Bottom every single time. So to see sites like the National Mall and its surrounding museums reduced to rubble was mind-blowing for me. The in-game map isn't one-to-one, of course, but I could still get a general sense of where I was in the city and try to find where my dad was working at the time. Hey, speaking of dads, that's a big part of the game's main plot.
Take care, son. I got out of here. And good luck.
Things kick off with your character growing up, and after 19 years inside Vault 101, it's time for a change. Your father has already left, and things are getting really chaotic under an overbearing overseer. It's time to go. Upon exiting the vault, your next waypoint will be the nearby town of Megaton.
Megaton? Megatin? Look, the characters all say it differently too.
Fallout 3 gives you the freedom to explore anywhere you'd like, but Megaton is the first settlement that most players will visit. They'll meet Sheriff Lucas Sims when they step through the metal gate, and he's happy to provide plenty of information about the town under his jurisdiction. The place takes its name from the still active warhead right in the middle of town, and learning about that hibernating threat kicks off a major quest, the power of the atom. Sims will charge you with disarming the bomb, but inside Megaton's bar, a shady individual named Mr. Burke will ask you to do the opposite. Then meet him at a place called Tenpenny Tower when the deed is done.
It's southwest of here, well out of harm's way.
So these are your options. Disarm the bomb so that its explosive threat is neutralized, or rig it to explode, turning Megaton into a smoldering pile of scrap. Now, some folks might see these options as too extreme, and while they certainly can leave an impact, literally, if you choose to blow it up, there's more going on behind the scenes of this binary decision. For one, you need an explosive skill of 25 to interact with the bomb at all, regardless of how you want to proceed. In most cases, this gives the player more time to think about the decision as they level themselves up, or pop a few chems for a little mental boost. You can also meet Confessor Cromwell and his Church of the Atom followers at the bomb site. They definitely want to keep the bomb preserved, considering they worship the thing. If you ask around town, you'll get even more opinions from other Megaton residents about what to do.
Sorry, kid. If you want to know more, Moriarty is the only one who's gonna help you.
Disarming the bomb is written to be the more noble path, while blowing it up leans into a chaotic or evil playthrough. But it's still a big decision in both cases. You've been making smaller choices like dialogue since moment 1, But the power of the atom is designed to raise the stakes and show you just how much of an impact, again literally, your decisions can make in this game. It also emphasizes the brutality of the wasteland. It's a dog-eat-dog world in Fallout, and folks will turn on each other at a moment's notice. It's raiders versus robots versus whatever else is wandering around out there, and when they're finished fighting each other, the next target is you. Every verbal interaction requires you to barter and negotiate. You've come to Megaton to pick up your father's trail, and old Moriarty can tell you where he ran off to for a price. 100 caps is pretty steep for this point in the game.
Sounds like it's time to start scrounging and completing quests.
Good call, me. So what happens if you disarm the bomb and preserve the safety of Megaton? Well, first, there's the satisfaction of keeping people safe, and you'll get a nice compliment from your dad when you finally do find him. Who doesn't want Liam Neeson to be proud of them?
I'm very proud of you, even though you put yourself in harm's way.
He has a very particular set of skills, like kind words.
Materially speaking, you'll get your own home in Megaton, complete with your own personal Mr. Handy, which honestly feels almost too swanky for a town this size. Plus, Sims will pay you 100 caps for your work. Notice how that's the exact amount that Moriarty wanted for his information? Or at least it would be, if he didn't try fleecing you.
I offered a deal for 100 caps. You declined. So now I'm offering a new deal for 300 caps.
But even if you do get stuck with the new, higher price, you've got ways to earn that money. Preserving Megaton means leaving the door open for more quests and interactions that branch out of this town. Moira at Craterside Supply wants to use you as her guinea pig for the Wasteland Survival Guide, another of the most memorable quests in Fallout 3. No Megaton means no Moira, and no quest to complete. Nor could you repair the water leaks around town for Walter, then continue selling him scrap metal later. No Megaton also means one less doctor in the world, or one less drug dealer if you're looking to self-medicate. That all goes away if you blow up the bomb. There are real consequences to your actions. But what happens if you decide to do the less noble thing and rig the bomb? Well, first you need to get to a safe distance. It's a long walk from Megaton to Tenpenny Tower as you think about what you're about to do.
I am not trying to tell you which side is better, but also I'm 100% doing that. And also, do you really want to trust this guy?
What transcendent beauty. What purifying light.
Burke's boss isn't any better. Alistair Tenpenny, the eponymous landlord of Tenpenny Tower, is a total NIMBY. He didn't like seeing Megaton on the horizon, as if the rest of the wasteland is any better, and Burke offered to blow it up for him. They enabled each other to carry out the heinous act of blowing up the town, and you lose a whole lot of karma for joining them. But hey, if you want to do the quote-unquote evil playthrough, this is a good way to kick things off. And you can't recruit the rougher companions like Jericho if you're too much of a goody two-shoes anyway. As for the outcome of your decision, well, I've already talked about the crater that will be left in Megaton's place. If you hadn't already gotten Moriarty's info, you're not locked out of the main quest by any means, but it is going to be trickier to get back on track. As for tangible rewards, Tenpenny gives you a lot more caps than Lucas Sims could afford, and you get your own suite at the tower. This one has a robot butler too, which makes more sense in such a fancy place.
I am here to look after your needs and to keep you happy and entertained.
But you're not the only person trying to get into the tower. When you first arrive at the gate, you'll see a ghoul named Roy Phillips arguing about wanting his crew to live there too. Speaking of those irradiated people, we also need to talk about the fallout of your decisions, especially with big choices like the bomb. You see, Fallout 3 is designed with intersecting quests, given in key locations that serve as hubs. There's an overlap that lets you dip your toe into additional quests while you're focusing on the current one. You can stumble onto Tenpenny Tower completely independently from visiting Megaton, but the power of the Atom quest can also push you in this direction. Whenever you arrive, you'll come across the same scene out front.
Get your rotten, ugly, goddamn ghoul ass off Mr. Tenpenny's private property.
In this case, deciding how to handle the ghoul situation is an entirely new quest, appropriately titled Tenpenny Tower. While the bomb was a binary choice, there were 3 possible avenues to take here. You can simply kill the ghouls and rid Tenpenny of the problem, or you could let them into the tower and watch them tear the place apart.
I won't lie to you, this is absolutely my favorite way to do it.
But with a little extra work, you can actually find a peaceful solution that lets the ghouls cohabitate with the Tenpenny residents. Sometimes there really is a third option.
Well, perhaps you're right, comrade.
Dealing with the Megaton bomb demonstrates Fallout 3's intersecting, overlapping quests, and it teaches you to explore dilemmas like this more thoroughly, to see behind the multiple choice question. The power of the atom asks you to choose just A or B, but Tenpenny Tower's ghouls challenge you with A, B, or C. This necessitated decision-making continues throughout the rest of the game. You have to get into Paradise Falls one way or another. You have to decide whether or not to free the super mutant fox, and you have to consider poisoning the water supply at the game's climax. This is why the Megaton Bomb quest, no matter how over the top it may feel, is the backbone of Fallout 3's quest design. It's arguably the defining quest of the modern Fallout era, teaching players about taking sides and living with the consequences of that choice. There are rewards on either path, but there is always a trade-off, whether it's cutting off some contingent quests, losing access to certain characters, or simply pissing off the wrong person.
Piss off already, or do you want to get shot?
Like I said at the top, Fallout's famous quote is about war never changing, but in a world destroyed by war, you have the ability to make huge changes based on your decisions. The power of the atom and its infamous bomb show just how drastic that change can be. You might have other Fallout 3 quests you prefer, but if there's one thing that we can agree on, it's that the future of the franchise is going to be full of more big decisions, like saving or blowing up an entire town. Tell him, Ron.
But the tale of humanity will never come to a close. For the struggle of survival is a war without end. And war never changes.
Hey, thanks again, Ron. And thank you for watching this video. If you like what I'm doing here on Framework, please hit that subscribe button in the middle. It would help me out an awful lot if you do. And if you want to see some of the other stuff I've already made, you can click that link on the far left. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.